This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Bear, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabaer.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Howdy, Good Gracious family. It is Saturday, December 15th, and we are right on the cusp of that big Christmas holiday, just getting over Hanukkah. And things in Atlanta are a little bit chilly, which is good. Bright and merry with lights and twinkly things. And I sat down with a couple of wonderful artists and thought I'd share their stories with you. So I had Janike Ruginis. She is the founder, along with her sister, of Veoleo, which is a kids' book company. And they've published their first book. And it's really interesting just to hear the process that you go through, which you can imagine is a pretty crowded market. But they have a certain twist that deals with cultural identity and Spanish language learning, and is really neat and super high energy. So I think you're going to enjoy hearing her. And musically, I sat down with Rob Agocs, which he is morphing into Rob Vincent. So those of you who know him as Rob Agocs, he's still that guy, but his middle name is Vincent. So it's a little easier to remember and pronounce. And so he talked about music and the state of music in Atlanta and what it takes to make it in this wacky world. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the back end.
Sure, my name is Rob Vincent, and that's a little bit strange to say now because this is some of the first times I'm using this name, Rob Vincent. It's my first name and my middle name. My name is Robert Vincent Agocs, and Agocs, it's not.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. It doesn't. And my I had a great grandmother, and we called her Grandmom Agocs. And, it was Agocs, by the way, which is how you spell it, and it was pronounced Agocs. And it is Hungarian, so that's kind of the only real connection, I guess, that I have to that name, that Agocs name, is just the fact that in the past it has been said to me many, many times, and it's been pronounced that way. But I feel like it's not super accessible.
Yeah.
It's not...
It's still your name, though.
It is still my name, and so, yeah... I guess my name is Robert Agocs. That's the name I've been going by my entire life. But professionally, as far as music goes, Rob Vincent might be a little bit more accessible. So
it sounds very Vegas. I think there's something to that. I think you should explore this.
Something Vegas about it.
Oh, definitely. It's very smooth.
They got those new .coms, those addresses, those domains. You can have a .vegas now.
Oh,
did you know that?
No.
Did you know that? Yeah. You can have a .vegas account.
I think I see. That's where you need to be.
That's where we're gonna be.
This.
We're gonna be at robvincent.vegas, folks. Point your browsers in that direction and press go.
No, it sounds good. So, how long have you been playing music?
Been playing music. 10 years, 12 years. There's no real starting point.
Yeah.
There's never really a starting point. I don't think. You just kind of.
Was it singer-songwriter stuff or was it bands? Was it trying to get?
It started out as singer-songwriter. So it started out at Eddie's Attic, as all good things do.
Right.
As all good things do. It started out. I was a young kid, and by young I mean like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. My mom was a publicist for this group called Cowboy Envy. And they were a cowgirl band, actually.
Yeah, they're still around.
They're still around, absolutely. Yeah, they're still doing it. And I think they got a male bass player now, so they're no longer female only. But she was their publicist a long time ago, and I think she was their publicist. But we would go to Eddie's Attic all the dang time before I even knew like what it was. I didn't know what live music was. I just kind of existed in this space where live music was always happening over at Eddie's Attic.
And it seemed like a normal life to you.
It just seemed like that's what everybody did. Every kid, they get out of school, they go hang out at Eddie's Attic for a couple hours, and then they come home. I figured that's just kind of what everybody's experience was. So, so that was my experience. Really fell in love with the idea of creating an environment where people listen and where people are affected by music, there's this sound, this very, very particular sound that I remember hearing, and it's called a plosive. It's when and I'll do it right there into the mic. It's where, you exhale air onto the mic, and it makes this pop noise. And I remember hearing that at Eddie's Attic, and that was the only place I would ever hear that. And this is before I knew what mics were or how sound works, so I always just kind of associated the sound of a plosive with live music, and I've always kind of loved that.
Huh.
Really interesting.
And most people try to get rid of those plosives.
Most people try to get rid of them, and I'm also.
But you can't though. They're going to show up.
You can use pop filters. You can do whatever you want. You can filter them out, but they're always going to be there, and they're always going to be a very fun part of music. I think.
That's interesting.
Absolutely, the little mistakes.
So when you try to explain to people your sound or your style, do you have anything that drives you?
I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody has something that they say will characterize their music, because they're too close to it. If you want to characterize someone's music, you got to remove yourself from it a little bit. If I had to remove myself from it, I would say
it's the best music in the world.
I would say it's absolutely the best music in the world. Thank you for recognizing. No, it's got a long way to go before it's anywhere near that, but it's good. I love it. I like it. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. It's folk rock. The band stuff, the full band stuff, has been folk rock. I've got kind of two sides to this music thing, and I think a lot of people do. There's the singer-songwriter side, and then there's the full band side. And I take different inspiration from singer-songwriters and from full bands, and they're so different, the two worlds. It's almost like you want to try to choose one, but it's impossible to.
Well, one feeds the other, and when you get tired of one of them, you can always go back to the other and still have your creative process.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there are different creative processes associated with the full band versus the singer-songwriter.
Any markers or idols for your music that drives you?
So, this is a story I like to use. In 1956, probably. I can't remember when it was. It might have been 1960. Somewhere in the late 50s, early 60s. Tom Petty met Elvis Presley. This is he met Elvis on a movie shoot, and his uncle, Tom Petty's uncle, was big in the movie industry, and they had one of Elvis's movies was coming through Gainesville, Florida, and Elvis got out and he got to meet Tom Petty, and Tom Petty always said that was the kind of the defining moment in his life for when he decided he would become a musician, is when he met Elvis. And I managed to meet Tom Petty actually back in 2016, I think, and I've always kind of thought that was a hugely defining moment. It's being able to shake his hand and say, hey, your music has been just ridiculously inspirational for my entire life. Thank you. And that's kind of probably, that's the full band. Yeah. That's the full band kind of inspiration.
Tom and the Heartbreakers, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can say you shaking the hand of the man who shook the hand.
I shook the hand of Tom Petty, right.
Well, no, but he shook the hand of Elvis,
and he shook the hand of Elvis, and Elvis shook the hand of several presidents, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
So. Well, it's funny you say that, because last night, actually, I was watching, there's a documentary series on HBO that came out last spring, I guess, but it's a two-parter. It's called Elvis Presley, The Searcher.
Okay.
And so it's in two parts. The first part is obviously the earlier years, and the second part is the later. But they don't do any talking heads, but the voiceovers, there's really only about a half dozen voiceovers through the whole thing. And Tom Petty, for some reason, is there, and I couldn't figure it out why. And Bruce Springsteen, those two musical artists,
amazing inspirations right there,
that just talk about him randomly, through the piece. So it's kind of weird that now you're bringing up Tom Petty.
What was it called?
Today.
The Searcher?
I think it's called The Searcher.
The Searcher. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
take a look at that.
It's well worth it.
HBO. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, so we go down a rabbit hole. So that's for the full band. You got kind of a Tom Petty inspiration. What about for your own singer-songwriter?
For the own singer-songwriter stuff, the first person I ever saw and paid attention to was a guy named David Jacobs Strain. He's I wish I knew more about him. I should have gone into this knowing a little bit more about David Jacobs Strain, but back in 2011 was the first time I ever did an open mic or ever decided to come and play, and what it was my birthday. It was the day I turned 20, I think. I went to Eddie's Attic to try to impress this girl. Took her to Eddie's Attic for either her birthday or my birthday. I can't remember which one it was. And we saw, no plan at all, saw David Jacob Strain perform. He was playing that night. And I remember there were a lot of plosives that night. And I really, I don't know, something resonated with me. And I just remembered his name from then on out. And I kind of looked him up and I started playing out myself, and then I got into Butch Walker, and then that kind of took over everything.
Nice.
So as far as singer-songwriter stuff goes, if you're unfamiliar with Butch Walker's like singer-songwriter career,
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely amazing.
He's definitely, and he's behind the scenes so much nowadays.
Oh God, so much.
I mean,
he's producing everybody.
He is. He's hit a sweet spot.
He sure has.
Good Georgia
for him.
guy too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Well, do you have any recording coming up? You got anything planned?
We
What's
do.
going
Yeah,
on?
thank you for asking. We're going to be going into the studio with a friend of mine, Johnny Daly. We're going to be recording. He's actually recording one of our other bands right now called How and Why. Really good people, Michael and Lindsay.
I've tried to get them to come do this, and they hate me. I don't know what it is. They won't listen to me.
I will hop into practice and I will start yelling at them until they get in here. Because this would be perfect. This, I think, would be a perfect environment for them.
Yeah.
But Johnny's recording them right now, and he'll be recording our band after that.
Nice.
And then that's we're talking about singer-songwriter versus full band stuff. That's the full band stuff. I'm also doing some singer-songwriter recording stuff with a friend of mine from college named Greg Hemler. He's downtown.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so
cool.
kind of doing some stuff like that. And it really is. There is a huge dividing line, I think, between the singer-songwriter stuff and the full band stuff, because I'm noticing that I'm not combining those two projects.
Right.
And I don't know why. Maybe they will combine in the future at some point, but
Some people, I think creatively they just end up putting on a different hat and they don't realize how much they do it.
that's what it feels
You
like.
know.
It does feel like a different hat.
And so a lot of times, even folks like Butch Walker, you hear their singer-songwriter stuff and then you don't even equate that with what they do
Yeah.
when they're playing live.
Hugely different.
So,
Hugely different.
yeah,
Vastly
Ryan
different.
Adams the same way.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of stuff.
He's got the Cardinals. He's
Yeah.
got, all these different bands that he plays with. Whiskey Town.
Exactly.
So different from his
And Whiskey Town was different in its own iterations as
Absolutely.
it went through. So
Yeah.
So great stuff. Well, if people want to learn more about you and find out where you're playing,
Those
what's the best way to do
guys
that?
should definitely go to, we've got robagocsmusic.com. We've got Rob Agocs Music on Facebook. And we've got Rob Vincent and the Accents on Facebook as well. And Rob Vincent and the Accents, that's the bands that I've got right now. And those are some good guys.
Cool.
Some really good guys. I'm enjoying playing with them.
Yeah.
Andy, Jeff, and Brian.
Well, good. Well, thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Boyd. I appreciate it as well. It's called Good Enough for Right Now. I pick up everything I can off of the table by my bed, and I throw it all away. The beer bottles, the napkins, and the broken pencil lead from when I still had some words left to say. Well, I bag it all up and I walk throughout my hallowed halls, and I take one last disgusted look around. And it may not be as tidy as I wanted it to be, but hey, it's good enough for right now. It's good enough for right now. Yeah, my mind keeps wandering back to when you called out all my flaws, how I hurt you more than I could ever know. How I'm not the man you fell in love with all those years ago. How my darker side is starting to show. And despite the days of silence that I've heard from your end, I have finally heard a familiar sound. And it may not be forgiveness or even any further business, but hey, it's good enough for right now. It's good enough for right now. Oh, it is good enough for right now. It's good enough for right now. No, it may not not be forgiveness or even any further business, but hey, it's good enough for right now. Yeah. I've been waking up at dawn and I've been trying to move on with the baritone monotony that is my life away from you. And I may not be very slim, but hey, I finally joined a gym and I've been sweating out the things that make the words I say untrue. And I'm not the first to realize, but I finally see with these 4 eyes I've got some major issues that I need to work out. And I know it to be true, I'm still not good enough for you, but hey, I'm good enough for right now. I'm good enough for right now. I am good enough for right now. I'm good enough for right now. Yes, I know it to be true, I'm still not good enough for you, but hey, I'm good enough for right now. Yes, it kills me that it's true, I'm still not good enough for you, but hey, good enough right now.
So my name is Janike Ruginis, and I am the co-founder of Veoleo. And what we do is we print books. And we just launched with our first book.
That's awesome. So books are not a new thing. We know that. And some people say they're dead, they're going away, but I don't think so. I think we'll always have books.
We will always have books.
What inspired you to jump into the book world?
So,
or what makes your books different?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because there's so many books, and I agree with you. I agree that they'll be with us forever. And they're so important because they really allow an interactive experience. And our objective is to create children's board books specifically. This all came about in January. My grandfather passed away. He was an avid learner, a lifelong learner. And we started talking, me and my sister, who's the co-founder. We started this together, my sister Alexis and I, and we started talking about how difficult it was to find books, specifically for my son, who is now 1.5 years. And I was having a lot of trouble finding books in Spanish, board books in Spanish, that really embraced our heritage.
Well, now, aren't there... I mean, we've got Amazon. We've got access to the whole world. Are you telling me that there are not board books out there at all? Or did you just feel like, in the United States you had access to this?
So yes to all of the things that you're saying, absolutely. However, what we found, or what I found specifically, my own personal experience was, as a native Spanish speaker, the board books that I were finding were either not original in content, they were translations, meaning that they spoke to a different culture, right? And then I also found that they were really all about basic concepts. They were about colors and numbers, which I believe in. I believe in those books. They have a place. For us, as a native speaker, I wanted something a little more, right? I wanted something that spoke to the rhythm in our house, which was to speak in Spanish. I speak to my son, who is now 1.5 years, exclusively in Spanish, and I wanted a way to bond with him and share with him not only the language, but also culture. So sure, I could find a ton of board books, but they weren't quite what I was looking for us and for our household.
And so did you and your sister banter back and forth about the same thing? Does she have kids too?
She does not have kids, but she loves.
She's a child at heart.
She is a child at heart, and she loves her nephew to pieces. And she was also looking for books for him, and she was
as
helping
gifts.
me as gifts, right? Helping me to find the perfect match. And it's difficult because the other difficulty that you come across is that, sure, they exist in Latin America, and in this day and age,
you
I
can get
probably
it.
get them. They're a little expensive.
Yeah. It's a little more
And
cost
it's a little
prohibitive
bit
sometimes.
more- exactly. So when you're looking for a lot of many different items, like it starts racking up.
Yeah. You've created an extra level of chaos for yourself. I mean,
Exactly.
having a kid is hard enough.
It is really hard enough. It really is. So we set off. We had.
But you have no experience in book publishing or
I have
writing,
a little
really?
experience in book publishing.
Okay.
Back in the day, I worked for an indie press in New York. I was a publicist. I did that for a year and a half. And yeah, that gave me an insight to what it requires, what you need to put into making a book. It's a long process. It's a complicated process. It's an exciting process. So that experience gave me a little bit of insight. But honestly, it's been such a ride, right? And you can't really foresee all the things that are come up. You can have experience and you can, but you'll never, starting a small business is such an adventure. And it can be so hard, but so rewarding.
Because there's always great potential.
There's always great potential for something. And we knew we had something, right? We knew that something was missing in this really big children's board book market, right? We wanted something that was original in content, something that was a little bit more complex than basic concepts. We wanted something that spoke to heritage, to be Latin American. And with this first book that we've published, all of the animals that you find in the book are native to Latin America. We were very conscious about choosing an environment that spoke to who we are as Latin America.
So you are basically creating a fantasy world for your child to live in that they will want to leave you and go to Latin America. They won't want to stay if they're raised in this. Oh, look how. I guess there will be the darker propaganda stuff later, right?
The darker world will come later.
Yeah.
At this
Plenty of
age,
time.
They have plenty of time to really delve into the very complex politics of Latin America, and each individual and unique country that makes part of that region. But for now, we just want to support families with books that speak to our heritage.
Nice. Well, and
That's
so
what we
you
wanna
started,
do.
so it wasn't just about writing one book necessarily. That's not the plan. The plan is, the name of the company is?
It's Veoleo. And what Veoleo means is, the first part is Veo, which is I see, which speaks to that board book, which is all about illustrations and really engaging your small reader with vivid colors and dynamic images. And then Leo is I read, which is, the obvious part of book. It's all about reading. So Veoleo, our objective is to create a world that supports bilingual families, that supports parents that love foreign languages, that might not necessarily speak Spanish, and that's okay. They might have this love for other cultures, and to give their children the opportunity to explore a whole different world. And our objective as an indie press is to support that. So we started off with this board book, and that's just kind of the launching pad. We want to see what happens, and we've had such great reception, and it's so exciting. And the hope is to continue to add to this collection and bring more characters.
Well, so it seems like just a monumental task. Creating anything is always challenging.
Absolutely.
But you've got a book in hand. How do you now reach other either bilingual or curious or Spanish-speaking families to tell them about this? I mean,
I think that the benefits of the world that we live in is the internet.
oh yeah.
Online,
Yeah.
social media. That's how you reach readers, especially for our generation, young families, even grandparents. They're online.
Yeah.
We sell exclusively online, and what we're doing, right, is create access online via social media. We have Instagram account, we have a Facebook account, we have Twitter, and that's our way. That's our main platform to reach families. Word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it goes. If you're excited and you can talk to people and meet new people will be excited with
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah.
And will be curious and will want to support an endeavor. And that's what we found. We are so grateful for friends and family for supporting us.
Are you doing like speaking groups or small
Yeah.
groups or
Yeah,
talking to
so
mommies and
that's-
me and whatever else?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the other component. So the launching pad was, the online world, social media. And then we are a small business. I want to say we're a local business. However, I'm here in Atlanta and my sister is in New York. We make it work. It's working really well.
You're East Coast.
You're
East
Coast. We're on
Coasters.
the same, exactly. What I started doing is a Spanish story time. And that was the way that I found would be, that's the way, I'm so sorry. That's the way that I'm starting to connect with families in the area. Why? We're small, right? We have this big idea, but we're starting in a small space, which is our community, which is so important. So our objective really is to reach out to our own community.
Right.
There's so many exciting things happening. And we live in a place here in Atlanta in our small community where families want to expose their children, or they themselves, parents want to be exposed to different cultures. So the idea really with the Spanish Storytime is to provide a space for families to come together that have this common interest to read books.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not only about reading the book. With the Spanish Storytime, which I lead myself, I'm very grateful that I remember songs from when I was growing up that I can sing to these children and help parents learn the words. And we read books and trying to create like an interactive, fun environment for parents and their children. And I've met so many amazing people along the way.
That's awesome. Well, where are you from originally?
I'm from Colombia.
Because your accent is virtually gone. I mean, I don't know.
So it's much more.
I'm sure Colombians go, "Oh, your accent, it's so weak."
No, so I have my family, we all have interesting pasts. Personally, I was born in New York. My whole family is Colombian. I was born in New York. I lived in New York until I was 9 years old. And then we moved to Colombia, specifically to Cali. And I lived there for 9 years until I graduated high school. And I came back for college, and I've been here in the United States ever since. I identify as Colombian. My heritage is a Latin American heritage. I grew up with my abuelita and my abuelito, and that's who I am.
Yeah.
And it's so important to hold on to that.
Yeah.
And now that I'm here in the United States, and I've been here for such a long time, I want to give that to my son.
To your son. That's awesome. Well, and so what's the name of the first book?
The first book, the title is Donde está el coquí, which translates to Where is el coquí? And the coquí is a small little frog, native to Latin America, but specifically found in Puerto Rico. And it's this tiny little frog that sings at night. And where it gets its name from, coqui, is because of the sound that it makes. So at night you can hear the coqui, 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 coqui. So that's our main character
I gotcha.
of the book. And it's his little adventure. He goes off and he visits his animal friends. So he visits pink dolphins, delfines rosados. He visits osos perezosos, which are sloths. And along the way, the text, what it does is you follow his adventure, and what he does is he has fun with his friends. So they play, they dance, and it's just this exciting adventure for a tiny little frog.
Yeah.
And what happens too is with reading it, what's really fun about it is that we really wanted to make something interactive. So it's all about finding him. Where is that cookie on the page?
Right. Kind of like
what
Where's
is he
Waldo,
doing?
but a little
kind
easier.
Kind of like a Where's Waldo. Easier for
Yeah.
age group 0 to 3
Yeah.
specifically. Where is he? What is he doing? Who is he hanging out with?
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful book. I mean,
Thank
you know,
you
yeah,
so
it's.
much.
I mean, the artwork and the design,
Thank you.
it's just what you'd want. And I see, you know, more so than we were discussing earlier, how a lot of books are just very basic in their structure of here's colors, here's pictures, and this one has more of a storyline going through it with a lot of interactions.
Absolutely. Language immersion is the way to learn a language, because language immersion is not only speaking a language, it's interacting, right? It's about interaction. And through language immersion, that's the most effective way to learn a language. My son, he blows my mind. Blows my mind. He understands everything I'm saying. And sometimes as a parent, you wonder, right? You have doubts constantly.
Well, wait till the teen years. That'll be a different. You'll have a different ball game in whatever
wait.
language you want to
I
use.
can't wait. But yeah, he blows my mind. He understands everything.
They're sponges.
I'm saying they're sponges.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that. And I just sometimes I feel like what I'm doing is not enough, and it is, right? And I think that as parents we can all identify with that constant feeling of lack. Am I doing
That guilt.
enough?
Yeah,
of,
the
of
guilt.
Guilt of lack.
Yep.
Am I giving them enough? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You're giving them everything that you can, and they're absorbing everything that you're giving them. And seeing him learning this language. We don't live in Latin America. We don't. He lives here. And all I can do is provide everything that I have when it comes to language and culture. And that's to speak with him, to, cook certain meals,
Right.
like give him plátanos, give him arroz, right?
Yeah.
Like rice and beans and all of these other things, and give him books,
Right.
That kind of explore this culture. That go beyond the basic concept.
Right.
He will learn the basic concepts.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about him learning colors.
Right.
I want him mostly to feel that when he grows up, he can feel that he has some
connection.
Colombianness in him.
Yeah.
A connection.
Yeah.
A connection with
That's terrific.
who his parent, who I am.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well, and so do you have another book already? I'm guessing that you kind of get something in your brain that you're doing another one already, or?
we're in the process of brainstorming.
Okay.
There's so many different directions that you can go in, which is really exciting, but also overwhelming. So we are in the process of brainstorming and thinking, should we bring one of these characters to life? Right, all of these. There's so many different characters in this.
Yeah, you could take a book off of each one of those characters.
You can.
The world's your oyster.
The world really is our oyster. The Latin American world is everything, and it's our oyster. And we just want to continue doing what we're doing, offering in that really that niche that we've identified.
Yeah, those cultural experiences.
That cultural experience of language learning and cultural acquisition and engagement that goes beyond basic concepts. And, and I do want to say that, and we haven't mentioned this, like, there are books that are geared towards a higher level. we can definitely find those, right? But that's a little bit too complex,
right,
for this age group. And also, and I'm sure you've experienced this when it comes to paper-bound books, toddlers will rip those apart.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I was saying that this one, it's got the nice sheen on it, so that peanut butter comes right off, and they can chew on the edges, and it won't disappear.
Exactly. Everything has been very intentional. It's not a surprise that it's a board book.
Yeah. It's
small. Children, toddlers can take them in their hands, can feel them, can turn pages. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's empowering.
Oh yeah.
And these little people, these little minds, we need to let them feel empowered, that they can do things, that they're capable. And it seems so simple, but it isn't, right?
Yeah.
It seems so simple to have a board book would be empowering. And it is. I watch my son happily sitting in a corner. He's 1.5 years, and he sits in a corner.
Just turning.
And he just turns the pages.
Yeah. He's practicing what reading is.
He's practicing what reading is. And that's what we as parents are giving our children.
And that's what they need. I mean, that all the research and everything is, if you can get more words and get them to love books. And we did that with our kid early, and I will tell you, they'll go through stages where you go sad when they don't want to read anymore. But, we were the same way on some level.
Absolutely.
So, well, this is really cool. Well, if people want to learn more about it or want to find out about your story times or how to get the book, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is to visit our website, which is veoleo.co, and that's veoleo.co. And you'll be able to find the book there. And then also information about story time. And if you're in the Atlanta area, you need to join us because it's really fun. The story time, it hits the road. Yeah. It's a traveling story time, which is really exciting. So far, we've been to parks. Being outside is fundamental for children and for parents that have little ones to be outside, to enjoy nature, to meet other parents. And now with the colder months, we're going indoors. And we've been so lucky to have a community that supports us and that offers spaces for us to meet with our families. And just have a really nice time and, read some books and interact and bond and have fun. And
that's terrific.
That's the whole point. That's the whole objective.
Well, thanks for coming in today. And I wish you the best of luck on what goes on. And maybe we'll talk to you again about your next project.
Thank you so much, Boyd. I really appreciate it. This was really fun.
Well, that's it for another Good Gracious Show podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Great people. Holiday gift? Yeah. That Veoleo book is really cool. And I've seen it in action with kids, and they light up with the artwork and everything else. So check that out, and check out Rob's work. He does some great music there. So, you need to go out, promote your Southern brethren, and support the local arts. Some of this music that you're hearing playing in the background is from the amazing Alex Gordon Hi-Fi here in town, and it is some groovy, jazzy stuff. Check him out online and support him. If you think about it, you can check back through the podcast and you find some musical guests you like. Maybe you give that music to a friend for the holidays. That helps keep our vibrant community alive. You can check out past podcasts, obviously, at goodgracioushow.com. You can stream them all there. You don't need to download them or know anything about podcasts. Think of it as online radio. And you can find it at Stitcher, iTunes, all those other wonderful places. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. You can check us out there. And may take a little break here for seeing Santa Claus and company. But we will be back for sure. And otherwise, be a good neighbor, hug someone, and see you real soon.